Down 3-2 on the road, all of the pressure was on the Thunder to deliver and force a Game 7, but Luka and the Mavs weren't exactly ready to roll over, which led to quite the interesting battle. From the second this game started, you could tell OKC was going to come out swinging as Shai redirects the opening tip to create a dunk. A big adjustment for them in this series has been moving Isaiah Joe into the starting five to create more space, and he's capable of playing off the catch as well, this time dropping it into Dort down low for 2 plus a foul. Once you create that space by occupying an extra help defender, it becomes a lot easier for a guy like Shai to get downhill, and once he does, the defense is forced into rotation, and they can do what they do best with their constant ball movement and 5-out approach. The same goes for J-Dub. He too can apply pressure and kick it out, which becomes especially tough to guard when Lou Dort's hitting his threes. A play later, it's back in the hands of Shai, who continues to drive and kick, as Dort knocks down another triple. So the offense was firing on all cylinders, but I was actually more impressed with OKC's defense. They made it clear right away that instead of a drop, Chet would be coming up to the level of screens either in a hedge or a blitz. From there, the low man would rotate early, forcing Gafford to make a decision in the short roll. Here it is again. Chet's all the way out in Luka's face and he picks up his dribble, so there's nowhere for him to go as his pass gets deflected. The Mavs had 6 turnovers in the first quarter alone, many of which resulted in easy points for the Thunder. When Luka instead used a screen from a wing, it's the same coverage. Joe hedges while Dort recovers from behind, which leads to another turnover. Even without a screen, they continued to send multiple bodies his way. Here he's trapped all the way out at half court, and again they want to force these role players to make decisions, although this time Chet picks up a careless foul. For reference, here's what it looked like when they didn't send that trap. Luka's able to take Dort one-on-one and find some space for his patented step-back 3. They showed the same coverages whenever it was Kyrie initiating. This one's an open corner pick and roll where he draws 2, and notice how both Shai and Joe pre-rotate to protect the paint. Jones tries to find some space in the middle with a cut, only for Shai to pick up a block. Not only was the idea to force the rolling big into being a decision maker, they wanted to concede those threes from role players. As long as the ball is out of Luka's hands and not resulting in a dunk, they don't mind a Josh Green jumper. That's why the low man is always coming over so early. When Lively gets the ball in the short roll, he's forced into a position where he has to create, and he tries to use his size advantage but isn't able to convert. The Mavs did have some counters though. One is called having Luka Doncic, who can counter that early rotation with an absolute bullet of a skip pass, which creates a long closeout for Josh Green to attack as he draws a foul down low. From a tactical standpoint though, one thing they did was empty the weak side corner and lift that shooter up to the wing as a way to take away the low man entirely. The rotation is tougher and the play results in a dunk. When Luka was on the bench, Kyrie was the one seeing those traps even without a screen. Like I keep saying, role players would be forced to either make plays or make shots. This led to a mix of good and bad possessions. This time, instead of taking the 3, Hardy quickly attacks off the catch, which breaks down the defense and leads to a lob. And on their final possession of the quarter, Hardy's going to be the one screening for Luka. He draws 2, leaving Jaden with a plethora of space to attack as he takes it right into the chest of Holmgren for a chance at 3 points. So the Mavs figured some things out and started to put points on the board more consistently by the time the end of the quarter arrived. And during that time, OKC fielded a lineup consisting of 4 bench players that led to an offensive disaster. As we've seen all series long, they're going to leave Giddey open, he can't punish it, and it didn't take long for Shai to get back into the game on the very first possession, stepping back for a corner 3. Shai's been their only consistent form of offense throughout these playoffs, and his individual scoring is able to give them a decent floor to fall back on, so they held that lead into the closing seconds, while J-Dub decided to beat the buzzer with a 40-foot pull-up, giving them a 7-point advantage heading into the second. At the beginning of quarter number 2, Shai continued to get into the defense for those kickout passes, except Dort didn't exactly stay hot. This is right about when he has to start doing things himself, so that's what he did. With 2 defenders trapping him in the corner, he uses an up fake and step through to create a layup. About a minute later, he sets up in the other corner and plays with his back to the basket, and with Gafford once again loading up, he really only has access to the mid-range, which he makes the most of. And when he starts in that corner with no shot blocker in position, then he'll take it to the rack for easy points. As for the other side of the ball, not much changed. OKC was still sending two bodies at either Kyrie or Luka, which once again led to role players having to make plays and knock down shots. Here's one where Kyrie gets trapped at half court, conceding the pass to Gafford in the short roll, and when he aggressively drives, he's actually able to force Chet's third foul early. And when he's not in the game, all of a sudden that paint becomes very vulnerable. You have Luka driving into a soft touch finish, you have a pick and roll in early offense where nobody's in position to stop Derrick Jones from catching a lob, and that forced Mark Daigneault to bring Chet back into the game. But by then the damage was done and momentum had been established. After an inbound, they run an action with Green setting a back screen for Luka, and like I said, OKC's comfortable conceding the three, but he hits it. Then on the next inbound, they go back to that exact same play, except now Luka's going to reject the back screen and instead go into a handoff, and because Dort went under the screen, he's got some room, giving Dallas their first lead of the game with a score of 42-40. Even though the Mavs were starting to roll, the Thunder stuck with what was working defensively. Chet comes up in a hedge, and when Luka turns the corner, he runs right into Isaiah Joe for an offensive foul. Then when Dallas tries something different with an open side ISO for Kyrie, Chet loads up early while that weak side defender protects the middle of the floor from a cut. That turnover leads to some easy points for J-Dub on the other end. Turnovers were once again a problem. They had 5 in the second quarter, making it 11 in just one half of play, and OKC used that to create transition offense as all of their shooters were starting to heat up. Shea stayed hot as well, and when he and the shooters both have it going at the same time, there aren't many things you can do to slow them down. That takes us to the final play of the half, where Shea comes off a ghost screen from Joe and draws 2, to which Joe lets the closeout fly by before stepping into open space for a 3. A 24-6 run puts them up by 16 heading into the break. In the third, OKC stayed with their game plan of sending attention to the stars and letting role players beat them, only that's exactly what started to happen. Well, Derrick Jones Jr. did, this time screening for Luka to cause that initial trap, then after getting it in the short roll, going right at Chet for points at the rim. He led all scorers in the third with 11 points, including 3 of 3 from outside, which gave their offense some much needed punch. On the other side of things, Dallas adopted OKC's game plan of trapping Shea and making anybody else beat them, and for them it was J-Dub who started to take over. He can play off ball and relocate into open space for a 3, he can attack with the ball in early offense and put his head down on a drive to earn some free throws, but most importantly he can create in the half court when needed, running pick and roll with Chet and setting him up with a beautiful lob. Whenever it was Shea initiating, they continued to put 2 on the ball, and this time all he has to do is hit Chet in the middle to make it a 17-point game. This is when the Mavs really dialed in. It started with a high ball screen for Luka that draws the aggressive coverage, and by flipping the screen, he's able to create a driving lane, working his way to the rim for an incredibly tough finish through contact. Then on the other end, Cason Wallace turns it over on a pass, to which the Mavs get out and run. A broken transition possession ends up finding Kyrie on the perimeter for a spot-up 3. The script completely flipped on the Thunder. Now they were the ones having turnover problems, and the Mavs were able to turn that into fast break offense. This time Luka takes it down court and hunts for space before stepping back for a long-range bucket. What really stalled OKC's offense was Dallas's zone defense. By swinging the ball, the goal is to put them in rotation, only for Lively to block a corner 3. When they're in this zone, a lot of what the Thunder like to do is taken away. They're forced into more ISO ball, and with a body in the paint, J-Dub has to rely on a tougher pull. The same goes for Shea. He's made a living out of using the mid-range in these spots, but these aren't at all easy shots to make. Then on the other end, you've got Kyrie doing this, so all of a sudden that lead doesn't look so safe. The best counter to a zone is to simply move the ball, attack the middle, and find all of the soft spots. But even when they did that, shooters all of a sudden weren't hitting like in the first half. They went nearly 4 minutes without a score and finally lucked out when Lively got called for a defensive 3 seconds. It looked like they may have been figured out, and like we saw many times throughout this series, Shea's difficult shot making dragged them out of the mud. When the defense leaves him with room outside, he steps back into a triple. When they run pick and roll and the big picks him up in space, he turns the corner on a drive before stepping back into a mid-range jumper. The only problem is that if the defense trapped him or loaded up early to get the ball out of his hands, those role players weren't holding up their end of the bargain. On the Mavs side, you have the same thing with the defense getting the ball out of Luka's hands, and that leaves Jones open in the corner, but like I said, he's making things happen, and it's a 7-point game with 12 minutes to go. In the fourth, things picked up right where they left off. Luka's drawing all of the attention, Jones is left open in the corner, and he hits yet another 3. And then on the other side, same approach, except Chet isn't able to knock it down. As long as the supporting players are struggling, there's no real downside to sending extra attention Shea's way. Here's one where Chet has to make a play out of the short roll and throws it away. Like in the third though, they found offense through Jalen Williams. Out of pick and roll when the big steps up, he has that lob to Chet, so next time they run it the Mavs switch, and that gives him an advantage to attack one-on-one as he gets to the rim for 2. And on this one, he's going to start off ball. Shea draws 2 and hits him 1 pass away for a quick drive and kick to Joe, who hits a big corner 3. Now it's the Mavs' turn to respond, and it starts with a Luka pick and roll. He draws 2, hits Lively in the middle, who uses that space to step into a layup. Next time down, Luka's going to attack one-on-one, and he drives in for a floater that doesn't land, but Lively comes up with the offensive rebound. That second chance finds Kyrie on the wing for a high-quality triple. I can't say enough about how amazing Lively was in this fourth quarter. This time it's Kyrie who drives in and misses, and the big man fights on the glass as he draws a loose ball foul. On the reset, Luka draws that double and makes the right pass, to which the ball keeps moving against a scrambling defense. Jones ends up attacking the rim, and when he doesn't finish, guess who's there on the follow to tie the game? The Thunder just wouldn't let Dallas get in the driver's seat though. J-Dub once again connects with Chet on a lob, then a play later he's cross-matched with Lively and beats him on a drive before kicking it out to Jay Will, who finds some space on the baseline to take it to the rim. And right when it looked like they might pull away again, here comes Kyrie beating the hedge before dropping it off to Lively for a massive finish. Seriously, the rookie big man was remarkable. He had as many offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter alone as Chet had total rebounds over the entire game. That sort of control on the glass can single-handedly swing the result. In addition to the rebounding problems, it felt like the Thunder really went away from things that were working for a majority of the game. Like instead of doubling Luka early, they let him get into his attack before bringing late help, and that's essentially just asking for him to create a great opportunity for one of his shooters. It also doesn't do much to limit his in-between scoring. A play later, he takes Dort one-on-one and steps back for a mid-range jumper to give his team the lead. After that, the Mavs take their coverage a step further and trap Shea in the backcourt, but that plan backfires when the guy who's left open is J-Dub as he hits a crucial 3, only for Kyrie to get the ball with an expiring shot clock and sidestep into an incredibly tough 3 of his own, as this game has become complete madness. Shea comes back with an answer for that aggressive paint defense, going to a pull-up jumper to tie, and a play later he finds himself in the same situation with a chance to get the lead back, but PJ Washington plays incredible defense to make it a tougher look. Speaking of PJ, when Luka draws that early double, he's the one who spots up for a 3 on the wing like he's done so many times throughout this series, and like clockwork, the same happens for Shea, giving Chet a chance to match, but those shots just aren't falling. Desperately needing a stop, the Thunder play perfect defense until the very end of the clock, only for Derrick Jones to somehow beat the buzzer with an absolutely ridiculous make. 2-possession game, Shea immediately comes down with a quick step back 3, and when they get the ball back with about 20 seconds to go, he gets into the defense before lobbing it up to Chet to put them up by 1. All it takes is a stop to seal the game, and they once again leave PJ open in the corner before closing out hard, where Shai picks up a foul on the three-pointer. The Thunder use their last timeout on a challenge, which is unsuccessful, now meaning that PJ can essentially close the game at the line. He hits the first two and misses the third, but there isn't enough time to get down the court, and that's the game. OKC's big three all showed up. Shai had 36, J-Dub and Chet had 22 and 21, but as a team, they missed a ton of crucial threes and got absolutely destroyed on the glass. And when those two things work together, it's going to be hard to come out with a win. As for the Mavs, they shot a scorching 47% from three, Luka had an efficient 29-point triple-double, and the X-Factor Derrick Jones came through with a vital 22 points as the Mavs advanced to their second Western Conference Finals in 3 years. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this game. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.